I never believed in forever. Forever was a word people used when they were scared of endings. A beautiful lie wrapped in hope. I had seen promises break, like fragile glass marriages crumble. Friendships fade, love stories turn into cold memories. So I built walls around my heart and convinced myself that temporary was safer. Then I met her. It wasn't dramatic. No slow motion, no cinematic music playing in the background, just an ordinary evening in an ordinary city. The sky was fading into soft shades of orange and purple, and I was sitting on a quiet bench in Karachi, watching the world rush by as if everyone had somewhere important to be. She sat beside me without asking. Not close enough to invade my space, not far enough to feel distant, just perfectly placed. "Do you ever feel like the sky listens?" she asked, looking straight ahead. I turned slightly. Her eyes were calm but heavy, like they carried stories too deep to share easily. "I think the sky is too busy," I replied. "Too many people talking to it." She smiled softly. "Or maybe it's silent because it's keeping everyone's secrets." That was the first time I felt something shift inside me. We didn't exchange numbers that day. We didn't even exchange names. We just talked. About life, about broken dreams, about the kind of love that doesn't shout but whispers. When the night fully settled and the stars appeared, she stood up. "Same time tomorrow?" she asked. And I, who never believed in destiny, nodded without hesitation. Days turned into weeks. We met under that same open sky, on that same bench. The world around us remained noisy, chaotic, unpredictable, but when we talked, everything felt still. Like time respected our moments and slowed down. Her name was Ariba. She loved the moon more than the sun. She said the moon understood darkness without being afraid of it. She loved late-night drives by the sea, where the waves sounded like distant applause. She believed that people meet for reasons, not accidents. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't, because meeting her felt like something written long before I was born. One night, the sky was unusually quiet. No wind, no distant traffic, even the sea felt calm. We had walked farther than usual, away from the city lights, until we reached a stretch of sand where the world seemed to disappear. She looked up at the stars. "Do you think promises scare the universe?" she asked. "Why would they?" I said. "Because when people promise forever, the universe tests them." Her voice trembled slightly. I noticed it. "Ariba," I said gently, "who broke your promise?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she sat down on the sand and hugged her knees. "I was engaged once," she finally said. "He promised me forever, under a sky just like this. 2 months later, he left. No explanation, just silence." Silence. That word again. The sky above us felt heavier now. "I stopped believing in forever after that," she continued. "But I still come here sometimes to see if the sky remembers." I sat beside her, close enough this time. "I don't believe in forever either," I admitted. "I think it's dangerous." She looked at me, surprised. "Then why are you here every day?" I didn't have an answer ready, because the truth was simple and terrifying. I was here because of her. The wind finally moved, soft and cool, brushing against us like a quiet witness. I took a deep breath. "Ariba," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Maybe forever isn't about time." She waited. "Maybe it's about choice, choosing someone every day, even when it's hard, even when the universe tests you." Her eyes shimmered under the starlight. "You can't promise that," she whispered. "People change." "Then I'll promise to change with you." The words left my mouth before fear could stop them. The sky above us was silent. No shooting stars, no dramatic thunder, just stillness. But in that stillness, something sacred happened. I stood up and held my hand out to her. "I don't know what the future holds," I said. "I don't know what tests will come. But under this silent sky, I promise you this: I will choose you. Again and again. Not because forever is guaranteed, but because you are worth the risk." She stared at my hand like it carried the weight of the universe. Slowly, she placed hers in mine. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Me too. And if one day you wake up and don't feel the same?" "Then I'll remember this night," I said softly. "I'll remember the silence, the stars, the way your hand fits in mine, and I'll fight for it." A tear escaped her eye, but she was smiling. "Then I'll choose you too," she whispered. No grand kiss, no dramatic music. Just two broken people standing under a quiet sky, deciding to believe again. Years passed. Life tested us, just like she said it would. There were arguments, misunderstandings, moments when silence felt dangerous again. But every time we drifted apart, we returned to that beach, to that sky, to that promise. We learned that forever isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It grows in small choices, in apologies, in patience, in holding hands even after a fight. One evening, much later, we stood there again. The sky looked the same, but we were different, stronger, softer. "Do you think the sky remembers?" she asked, repeating her first question. I smiled. I think it was never about the sky remembering. Then what was it about? It was about us. I squeezed her hand gently. "Forever was never a moment," I said. "It was every time we chose not to walk away." She leaned her head against my shoulder, and the sky above us remained silent. But this time, its silence felt like approval, because under that silent sky, I had promised her forever. And every single day since, I have kept that promise. Forever sounds beautiful in stories. In real life, it is heavier. After that night on the beach, nothing changed, and yet everything did. We didn't suddenly become a perfect love story. We didn't walk into sunsets holding hands while the world applauded. We simply continued. But now, there was a promise between us. And promises have weight. The first real test came quietly. Ariba received a job offer in Lahore. It was everything. She had worked for a design firm she admired, independence, growth, a fresh start, the kind of opportunity that doesn't knock twice. But it was far from Karachi, far from our bench, far from our beach, far from our silent sky. She told me on a Thursday evening. The same place, the same ocean breeze, but her voice was different, hopeful, yet afraid. "They want me there in a month," she said softly. I nodded. Inside, something tightened. "This is good." I forced a smile. "You deserve this." She looked at me carefully, as if reading the parts I wasn't saying. "And us?" she asked. There it was. The question every long-distance story eventually faces. I looked up at the sky. It wasn't completely silent that night. The wind was restless, the waves louder than usual. Maybe the universe was listening after all. "We said forever is a choice," I replied slowly. "So we choose. Even if it's hard, especially if it's hard." She didn't cry. That scared me more. Distance is strange. It doesn't break you immediately. It stretches you, slowly, gently, until you don't realize how thin you've become. At first, we called every night. Video calls under different skies. She would show me the rooftops of Lahore. I would show her the sea in Karachi. We counted stars together, pretending they were the same ones. But work grew demanding. Deadlines replaced long conversations. Exhaustion replaced laughter. Some nights, one of us would fall asleep mid-call. One evening, I waited. And waited. No message, no call, just silence. The kind she once feared. When she finally texted, it was short. "Long day. Talk tomorrow?" 3 simple words, but they echoed loudly in my chest. Talk tomorrow. What if tomorrow becomes someday? What if someday becomes never? My old fears returned, the ones I had buried under that beach sand. The voice that whispered, "Forever is temporary." The next weekend, I surprised her. A 6-hour bus ride, no warning. When she opened her apartment door, she froze. "You're here," she breathed. I was tired of counting stars separately, I said. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then she stepped forward and hugged me tight, desperate, like she was holding on to something slipping away. That hug told me everything. She was scared too. That night, we stood on her apartment rooftop. The city lights of Lahore shimmered below us. Different skyline, different air. "Do you regret it?" she asked suddenly. "Coming here?" "No. Promising forever." I stepped closer. "Do you?" She hesitated. "Sometimes I'm afraid," she admitted. "Afraid that distance will change us. that we'll wake up one day and feel like strangers again. I gently lifted her chin so she would look at me. Strangers don't fight this hard, I said. Strangers don't take 6-hour bus rides just to argue in person. She laughed softly. We argue a lot, because we care a lot. The wind moved around us, not silent but steady. Areba, I said, forever doesn't mean we won't struggle. It means we don't leave when we struggle. Her eyes softened. And if one day it becomes too much, then we go back to the beach, I replied, and remember who we were under that sky. She leaned into me. I don't want to lose us, she whispered. You won't, I said, but this time my voice carried both love and effort. Because keeping a promise is harder than making one. Months passed. We learned new rhythms, scheduled calls, surprise visits, letters, real ones, written on paper, sprayed lightly with her perfume. I kept them in a box by my bed. Whenever doubt crept in, I read them. And then came the second test. Her contract was extended. 2 more years. She told me carefully, like someone handling fragile glass. I understand if this changes things.